Ugh. All right, guys, thanks for clicking on this video. Before I kind of get into what this video is about, I just want to give a quick shout out to Barbell Apparel. I was asked in the comments section a few days ago about like my favorite clothes to work out in that don't get stinky and smelly and like retain all the sweat from workouts after just a few training sessions, even after they get washed. I'm not just shilling for Barbell Apparel because they sponsor this channel. They do have really high quality clothes. You see me wearing their tanks all the time. It is high quality stuff, so hit the link in the description. You guys know what to do. If you're looking for good training clothes, if you're looking for good clothes, they got good jeans or just like casual wear, Barbell Apparel's got you covered. They have a deal where if you aren't satisfied with the product, you can send it back for free and they'll exchange it for something else. So anyways, just got to give Barbell Apparel a quick shout out. So for the training session today, I cleaned. My training schedule got all screwed up. So this is the last week of the Haas Project 2.0. So I'm sort of integrating some of my testing this week because I traveled this week. I was gone Monday afternoon, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I ended up squatting on Monday, hitting a 620. I kind of tested my back squat on Monday. I put that video up as a short on YouTube. But then I deadlifted on Tuesday and because I was at the CSCCA conference, so you can lift there. And I usually deadlift with a day in between of squatting and deadlifting. But anyways, my lower back kind of got fried after that. And then, I guess the details don't matter. I traveled this week. I'm traveling next week. Therefore, my training schedule kind of got all screwed up. So I'm trying to kind of like fit in and prioritizing the things that I want to prioritize within my training with each session. So I tested my bench press today. I hit a 422 bench press. You'll see that. And then I tested, like pre-test my clean, and I hit 375. And I was really happy actually in hindsight because I hadn't full clean from the floor in over 6 months. I didn't do any of that during the Haas Project 2.0. So 375, my technique felt shitty. My footwork felt off. I definitely had 385, 390 in me if I really wanted to push it. So I was pretty happy with that. Then I did some pull-ups. I didn't answer a ton of questions because I was just like so focused on getting a number for clean and getting a number for squat. So I did answer some questions, but enough of me yapping, guys. Thanks for clicking on the video. Enjoy it. Feel free to ask some questions in this comment section too. So, one last thing. Next week, I'm going to live stream my deadlift. I'm going to test my deadlift next week, and I'm going to live stream it on YouTube. If you guys actually are interested in watching that live stream, let me know so then I can like post about it and let you know what time I'm going to do it on Wednesday so you guys can like interact with me on there. I've never done it before, don't know what it's like. So let me know in the comments if you're interested in actually watching the live stream of me maxing out my deadlift. My goal is to hit 740, 750, somewhere around there. And I'll let you guys know the day before what time. I'll post it on YouTube. Maybe I'll post it on Instagram too. So let me know if you want to see that because I was told I should do that by some of you guys in the comments, which I appreciate. So let me know if you want to watch that and I'll give you like an update the day before what time I'm going to do it. So I'm probably going to end up testing it on Wednesday next week. But anyways, let me know. I'll let you know what time it's going to be. So thanks for watching, guys. Enjoy the video. So I'm hooking up the OVR to these cleans today because I've been reading, or I did read, I'm kind of rereading again, Will Fleming's book on velocity-based training for Olympic weightlifting. Since I'm going to get back into more Olympic weightlifting this summer, now that I can lift outside, I can actually snatch, I can jerk again because I can't do that in my garage because the ceiling's too low. He talked about creating a velocity profile for Olympic weightlifting, so I'm just going to play around with that. This is going to be the first time I'm measuring cleans. I've measured power cleans before, but not full cleans, and really I'm just collecting data to kind of see what my minimum velocity threshold is. I'm just going to work up to a heavy or like a sub-maximal 1RM, if that makes sense, because as you can see in the warm-ups so far, that my skill level has decreased significantly since this winter, since I didn't do a lot of this stuff, since I did like the absolute bare minimum of Olympic lifting that I would ever recommend anyone who wants to do it. So yeah, I'm just kind of collecting some data, see how fast I can move each weight, and then maybe over the summer I'll like really look at it and kind of use it to determine load selection, programming decisions, and all that kind of stuff. So I got 295 in the bar. I'll probably hit this for a double, maybe a triple, depending on how the first 2 reps feel, and I'll keep building. All right, next hit here, I got 310. Probably hit a double unless that second rep does feel pretty good, then I'll hit a triple. As you can see, I got my new plates here. These are all bumpers. I got a bunch of new bumpers from Straight Ugg Strength. What I like about them, they don't bounce a ton, even with the crash pads. Like I used to have Alico bumper plates, and they were in kilos. These are all in pounds, so that's gonna make things a lot nicer. Because when I had to use bumpers and my iron plates, that would kind of screw up the load, or like how you calculate the load or whatever, because you have to convert pounds to kilos or kilos to pounds. But yeah, these are all in pounds, so everything's gonna be in pounds now. So I still gotta get used to how much weight I'm putting on with pounds, because I'm used to kilos for Olympic lifts. I can do both with like squat, bench, dead, but yeah, no, these do not feel good, dude. My skill has gone way down. My front rack has gotten worse. My speed under the bar, my precision, my timing, all of it has gotten worse. My footwork has gotten worse. So yeah. I just put out a post on Instagram, and I kind of stole this from Dave, Strength and Kindness. He messaged me about it. It's something that I hadn't thought about much before until he brought it up, but Olympic lifts aren't, one of the like most undervalued part of Olympic lifts is what they do for the lesser than average athlete, or even the average athlete. Really good athletes can get better doing pretty much anything. It doesn't take, like, they're just gifted. They're already gifted. They're going to be more explosive regardless. They're going to be faster regardless of what they do. The training program it's going to increase their performance a little bit, but for someone who's like a lesser than average athlete, the Olympic lifts provide them so much more value. It's going to bring their floor up so much higher than just like the typical substitutions of Olympic lifts, like loaded jumps, loaded plyos, that kind of stuff. Like you think about the stimulus you get from Olympic lifts, trying to create propulsion onto this external body of mass, only to have to yield that mass within milliseconds after you create propulsion onto it, yielding it, dropping into full ranges of motion, all that kind of stuff. Like, it's just so much better. You think about the stimulus provided from an Olympic lift, what that does for someone who's like not a very gifted athlete, compared to if you just were like, well, they're not a good athlete, why am I gonna waste time teaching them this? We're just gonna do loaded jumps, we're just gonna do depth jumps, we're just gonna do whatever else you decide. Like, the Olympic lifts provide that person so much more value than like the gifted athlete. Start hitting singles now. The pull feels decent. The pull actually kind of feels powerful. It's just transitioning under the bar, getting to a front rack, getting my feet down where I want them to be, keeping the bar tight during my catch. What's interesting about this OVR, aside from like velocity metrics, power metrics, all that kind of stuff, like that stuff's cool, but I like that it shows the range of motion. So it shows how far you're actually moving the bar. I do like that. All right, going for 335 here. Let's move this one well. Feel like I could just power as much as I clean right now. That's how shitty my front rack is and getting under the bar feels. All right, 365 here. This is probably gonna be my last one, unless it turns out to be really, really good. So. I'll do one more. I'll go up to 375. That 365 I could have powered, and I would have probably felt comfortable powering it, but that's not what I'm doing today. So move that one 33.7 inches at a max velocity of 1.86. So I got to go check on Will Fleming's book to see like what you should be moving, like what's the minimum velocity threshold for a clean, and see how that adds up for what I'm at right now. But I'm gonna bench press now, so let's move on. All right, moving on to bench press. So I am treating today like a max out bench press. And if I'm unhappy, I'm going to change this camera angle. And if I'm unhappy with what I end up hitting for my single, there we go, that's better. If I'm unhappy with what I end up hitting for my single, I'll test it again next week. Like I said, my schedule is all kind of screwed up from traveling this past week for the CSCCA and traveling next week for a presentation that I'm doing for Stray Dogs. So like my training schedule just kind of got screwed up. Like this is supposed to be the last week of the Haas project where you can kind of supplement some of your testing into it, but then I kind of wanted to do my testing after I finished this last week, so I'm kind of mixing in some of my testing. So this is going to be my test single for bench press, and then if I don't like what I hit, I'll try it again next week. All right, moving on to 365 here. Is there any reason why I use my weightlifting belt versus a powerlifting belt? And what are your thoughts on knee sleeves? Yeah, the reason I use my weightlifting belt instead of a powerlifting belt is because I only want one belt. So the weightlifting belt does me just fine. I just don't want to buy two belts, and that weightlifting belt. So when I got so I didn't use a belt until like over a year ago, just about a year ago. So I never used a belt before. And then when I was looking at getting a belt, I figured I may as well just get the weightlifting belt because I can squat, pull, do weightlifting with it, where if I got the powerlifting belt, it wouldn't be very conducive to weightlifting. So with the weightlifting belt, you can do both. What are my thoughts on knee sleeves? Never used them, have no experience with them. I don't really have an opinion on them. If people like using them, go for it. I think they're allowed in powerlifting. I think. I could be wrong. I've never competed in powerlifting, so I don't know. I don't know what the rules are, but if you want to wear knee sleeves, wear knee sleeves. I don't think that's like cheating or anything. Do I think high schoolers can get away with lower magnitudes of stress because they are younger and physically less mature, or simply low training age? Both. I mean, those are kind of akin to one another. But yeah, both. It doesn't take much for a high school kid, a kid who's like in late stage puberty, to get stronger and put on some muscle mass. They just need a low dose of strength training, and they're gonna get great results from that. So, all right, let's hit this 360, 385. 385. Going for 405 here. This is my all-time best. I've hit this twice, maybe 3 times in my life, and I feel like I'm going to crush it right now. So let's get it. Oh, yeah. So that 405 felt really good. So I put 5 pounds on. I'm going to go for 415. And if this one moves well, I'll go to 420 maybe. So let's get it. Yeah, 420 or 425. I got to think about it for a minute. All right, this is probably going to be my top set here. My top single, I put 422 on the bar. So this will be a big PR if I can hit this one. That's probably it. Happy with that. Nice. All right, gonna strip it off and do my giant set. Moving on to the giant set here, 335. I just got 12 to 15 total reps. I can only squat deep with my feet pointed outwards at 45 degrees. Would you say that is too wide for a squat? Not at all. I do like Mark Ripeto's kind of default stance of toes pointed out about 30 degrees. Start there and then just kind of adjust as needed. I think 45 degrees with your toes pointed out 45 degrees is totally fine for most people. When I teach someone, I tell them 30 to 45 degrees for their starting position. I think it's really easy for people to track their knees over their toes that way. You don't have to end up like cueing a lot of other technique things like with their descent on the way down if you set them up in that position. So 45 degrees is totally fine, man. Could you talk about the best/favorite disadvantage lifts like deficit deadlifts, box squats, pause squats? Yeah, I can talk about my favorite ones. I think I've made a video about these, like my top 5 pulling exercises, my top 5 squatting exercises. So my favorite, I'll just say my favorite disadvantage lifts would be deficit deadlifts, deficit stiff leg deadlifts. These are for pulling, snatch grip deadlifts, and I kind of even like the sumo RDL. I like that. There's a lot of good ones, man. Now for the squats, I like front rack, low box, front squats I really like. I like pause squats. I like pin squats. I like box squats. I actually came to really like box squats running this Haas Project 2.0. There was one block where I did a lot more box squatting than normal. And I do like doing it the Louis Simmons kind of West Side style where it's a really wide stance and you really sit back, you kind of rock back, rock forward. I really did find that style of squatting enjoyable. With in terms of like pressing, I would say a deficit bench press, a pin press, and then I really like high incline pressing. Thoughts on doing 100-meter repeats for increasing speed? Is it effective? I wouldn't do 100-meter repeats for increasing speed. I would do that for some sort of conditioning though. This kind of depends on like what your athletic background is, but I would, for most team sport athletes, I would shorten that distance down to like at a maximum distance, 60 meters. And when you say repeats, I don't know if you mean like, do you do a rep, take less than full recovery and you repeat it again, or does repeats just mean reps? So like, yeah, 3 to 4 reps of 20, 40, 60 meter sprints is great. As long as you give yourself enough recovery in between. But like 100-meter repeats, the way I think about that is like 100-meter sprint, less than full recovery, 100-meter sprint, less than full recovery, 100-meter sprint. I would not say that's effective for training like max velocity capabilities. Probably great for conditioning though. Do you think that sprinting before a lower body workout, like 30 minutes, can be beneficial? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it all depends. Like, you're going to split up your training frequency throughout the week. Your split is going to be dictated based on how many training days you have, what your schedule looks like, what your goals are. I see you mentioned that you only have 4 training days per week. That's what Haas Olympic does, dude. Haas Olympic does an upper-lower split 4 days a week. I think if I remember right, there's 2 days of sprinting, and I think both of those days of sprinting are actually on the upper body day. But yeah, doing like 30 minutes of sprinting is totally fine before going in lifting lower body. If you keep the total workload relatively low, like if you do 6 to 10 short acceleration sprints going into your lower body lifting, you're going to feel great. You're going to feel potentiated. You're going to feel strong. You're going to need less warm-up sets for squatting, for pulling, whatever your lower body exercises are. So yeah, I'm totally a proponent of sprinting. A lot of college football programs do this. A lot of college strength and conditioning programs, regardless of the sport, sprint before they do their lower body strength training. Yeah. So the last thing I'm going to do today is max out on my pull-ups. I'm just going to start stacking plates onto my weight belt and see how heavy I can go. I don't know what my best ever is. I do think I put 3 plates, maybe for sure 2 plates on my body before. I might have done 3 plates before, but I honestly have no idea. That's just a total guess. So I'll just work up to my best, and I'll have to record that and put that down somewhere. I'll put it in the Train Heroic app so I can always reference it. Oh, 70 pounds on my body. I was 241 pounds this morning, 241.8. I think some of that is just like eating bad food the past couple of days while I was traveling at CSCCA. I had a ton of wings. I had a ton of like fried food. So some of that weight is probably from that. But just for anyone who's wondering about a reference of what my body weight is. All right, 2 plates on this next one. Based on that last set, so this is 90 pounds, so 70 pounds before. That last one didn't feel that strong, so this might be my top one. Yeah, that's it. I don't know if I even got my chin over the bar, but I guess I'll just count that one. So 90 pounds plus 241, so 331 pounds for my max pull-up. All right, that's all I got for the video, guys. Thanks for watching. See you next time.